Many of the tasks carried out in Excel by accountants involve comparing the value of one cell to the value of another cell, or the value of a group of cells called an array to the value of another group of cells. Now, Excel have made this really easy by including 6 comparative operators as part of their basic arithmetic functions in Excel. In addition to this, Excel also includes the AND statement and the OR statement for creating more complex conditional statements. In this video, we are going to look at the 6 comparative operators, and we're also going to look at the AND statement and the OR statement. You need to master these basics before you can move on to more advanced functions such as the if statement. So let's take a look at some examples. The conditional operators that we have are as follows. We have the equals to, we have not equals to, we have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and then we have less than or equal to. So let's have a look at some examples. Let's test to see if this 5 plus 5 are equal to each other. So very simple, we will start our formula with equals and we can just reference the cell references. So does E5 equal to F5? Now we have got a false result there, and to the human eye, it looks like 5 does equal 5. However, when you're returned with a false result, when you're expecting a true result, chances are there are some formatting issues. And the value shown in the cell is hiding some decimals or has rounded the actual format, the view that's visible to you. So let's take a deeper look at the cell. And from our home ribbon, I'm going to increase our decimal places. And we can see the cell is actually 5.4. So they are not equal, and hence a false result is returned. Now, if we change this value to 5, we can quickly see that a true result is returned. The not equal to is a combination of the greater than or less than signs together. So we could say is our 10 not equal to, so we've got the less than and the greater than our cell in F6. Now we can see these cells are the same, so that means that they are equal to each other. So we have been returned a false result. What about testing to see if something is greater than something else? Well, we start with an equals. We can reference the cell. We can then say, is that greater than the other cell, which we have as 20? Now we know it's not, so we will get a false result. Now, if we put in 5 here, we know that 10 is greater than 5, and so we'll get a true result. What about less than? Well, exactly the same. Is our 10 less than our 20? And we should get a true result. And then we also have greater than or equal to. Greater than and equal to. So equals, is our 10 greater than or equal to our 20? In this case, we get a false result. And then we can test to see, is our 10 less than or equal to our 20? And we know it is. So in this case, we are going to get a true result. Now, in each one of these formulas, we referenced a cell. So we could see cell E6 and F6. You can always include hard-coded figures. However, best practice is not to have hard-coded figures in Excel formulas. So let me show you what I mean by hard-coded figures. We could say, is 5 equal to 5? So our hard-coded figures are 5, whereas we're not referencing cells, we're referencing numbers, and we can get it true. We can always also use text. So is today in text equal to the word today, also in text, and we get a true result. So they are the comparative operators, the 6 comparative operators. But what if you wanted to have 2 comparative operators? So what if you wanted to take 2 tests, and only if the 2 tests meet the criteria are you going to return a true result? Well, in this case, you're going to use the AND statement. Now, the AND statement, let's have a look at the AND statement. The syntax is very simple. First of all, you start with equals and you open your bracket, and then it's looking for logical test 1, logical test 2, and subsequent logical tests. Each logical test is separated with a comma. Now, to get a true result with an AND statement, all logical tests must return a true value. So let's take a look at an example. Is our cell E15 equal to our cell F15? And that's our first logical test. Now we put in a comma and it skips now to our second logical test, which you can see in the screen tip. So we're going to say is our Monday equal to our Monday in our text as well. We can close our bracket and hit enter, and now what we've got is a false value. The reason we've got a false value is because this 5 does not equal to the 110. However, if we were to change these values so they did equal, our true would update. Now, if we were to change the Monday to a Tuesday, we would then get a false because Monday does not equal Tuesday. Now, here's a tip for you. If you can't understand how a formula is working, you can always use the evaluate formula function. Let's select our formula. So to use evaluate formula, select the cell that contains the formula. Then, from the formula ribbon, select evaluate formula. And this is going to open up a new dialog box which will walk through the steps of the actual formula. So the first thing it'll show you is an underline, and when we hit evaluate, it'll show us the value for that underlined figure. So we see that's 110, and we're asking, is that equal to 110? So if we walk through this, does 110 equal 110? We will get a true. Then the E16 is highlighted, so it shows us Monday. The F16, Tuesday. So now it's going to say, is Monday equal to Tuesday, which is false. So we get a false. So with the AND statement, we must have all trues, otherwise a false will be returned. So when we finish the formula, we can see a false is returned. So that's the AND statement. But what about the OR statement? Well, the OR statement is very like the AND statement in syntax. It looks for logical tests, a couple of logical tests, but with the OR statement, only one logical test needs to give a true result for you to get an overall true result. So let's take a look at an example. So our OR is looking for our logical test. So does 5 equal to 10 is our first part of our logical test. We can then say for our second part of our logical test, does Monday not equal to Tuesday, for example, which is going to give us a true. So this first one will give us a false. This second one will give us a true, but we can add in more, and they don't just have to have the equals. You can use any of the comparative operators. So we could say, is Monday equal to this Monday? And close our bracket, and we have got a true. Now, the reason we have got a true is because at least one of the logical tests have a true result. Let's go back into our formulas and our evaluate formula for this one. And I'm going to skip through this really quick. So does 5 equals 10? False. Does Monday, is Monday greater than, or does Monday not equal to Tuesday? Well, that is true. And then does Monday equal to Monday, which is also a true. Now we have two trues. We only need one to get an overall true result, so we will be returned with a true result. So that is the basic of logical tests and comparative operators. Have a practice of these now, and in the next video we're going to look at using these within if statements to solve everyday business problems.